Okay, the inevitable has happened at Manchester United. They have sacked Erik ten Hag. The club are currently 14th, 12 points behind Man City. That's the barometer we're going by. Last season they finished 8th. Now, in ten Hag's time, he has won silverware in back-to-back seasons, one of only 3 Manchester United managers to do that. Fergie and Busby. However, there was no league title in there, and there was no European success in there, which Busby and Fergie had. And this is the problem with Manchester United. They've been declining for some time, and other clubs have taken those steps forward and have improved. Manchester United are declining. There are clubs around them who 10, 15 years ago would have been relegation fodder that are now competing for Europe. Other clubs are advancing and evolving and improving. Manchester United have been stagnating and declining. And a lot of that does lie with the ownership, with the talent scouts, with the youth system. This is not just Erik ten Hag being the problem. This is the whole club having massive problems behind the scenes that actually started when Fergie was still manager, when the Glazers first took over. The decline is actually pretty noticeable. And even then, after the Glazer takeover, Fergie still wins the Champions League, wins league titles, FA Cups, League Cups, still brings success. 2013, great send-off season for Fergie. But since then, it has been misstep after misstep after misstep. And every manager that has come in has managed to win silverware, either with the club or with other clubs, has come in and has not been able to bring managerial stability. And the style of play changes every time. There is no Man United style of play. There's no Man United, this is what we are about. This is what the club culture is about, our style of play and the type of player we want. It's different. Each manager's different. So there's no continuity. We've had so many managers now in 11 years. It's ridiculous. We've had Moyes. We've had Van Gaal. We've had Mourinho. We've had Solskjaer. We've had Ten Hag. Now, some of these seasons where they haven't won the league, in other seasons, if you look at past records, that is actually a league-winning points total. This is just showing how good Liverpool, Man City, Leicester that one season, for example, how good, since Man United last won the league, how other sides have taken steps forward, have improved, have become more competitive, and they have stagnated and now declined. A lot of issues. The youth system is not producing the same quality of player it was 20 years ago. Some of the scouting of players who end up getting signed is disastrous. Some of the signings have been disastrous. Absolutely disastrous. It hasn't worked. And then some of the egos, the player power, the Pogba period. There's a reason why Fergie let Pogba go. Why they brought him back after Fergie retired is beyond me. That was a disastrous decision, bringing Paul Pogba back. Bringing Ronaldo back was a disastrous decision. These are not team players. These are massive egos. Everything has to revolve around them, which goes against the ethos that Fergie and Busby before him had of this is a team. Everyone works together. There's no one superstar. And then you have these big egos, and there's a reason why Ronaldo was let go the first time. There's a reason why Pogba was let go the first time. It's because of what Fergie had as the culture of the club. If your ego gets too big and you think you're bigger than the team, you're out the door. Did it with Beckham. Did it with Keane. You know, club legends who won silverware galore with them. Right, with the club. Beckham and Keane, for example. Let's use them as examples. Paul Ince. You get to a point where your ego gets too big, you're gone. Bye-bye. It doesn't matter how good a player you are, how good a leader you are, or what you bring to the team when you're working within that team dynamic and that culture. When you start overstepping the mark and think you're bigger than the club, you're gone. Fergie had no hesitation of getting rid of key leaders in that dressing room because they got their ego too big or they became disruptive. They were gone. Roy Keane, gone. Paul Ince, gone. Beckham, gone. He was a hard taskmaster, but it brought success because it had a certain type of culture. Since Fergie, they've gone for the big name signing, the big ego. It hasn't worked. It's been a disjointed transfer policy. No managerial stability. And we've had some class managers manage it. Mourinho and Van Gaal, for example. They have won how many trophies between them? Even Solskjaer won trophies in Norway. People go, he only won with Mulder. But Solskjaer was actually not that bad for Man United. His win percentage wasn't that bad. And in seasons past, if you look at historical records, when they finished second under Solskjaer, he could have won them the league. If you look at historical records, Ten Hag was never the right guy for the club. He wins them 2 trophies, but never the right guy. We have not seen a Man United in this state since the 70s, early 80s, where they were this dysfunctional. The club has not been this dysfunctional for 4 to 5 decades. The last 11 years has been dysfunctional on a level that Chelsea would be proud of. Now, do I have some sympathy for Ten Hag? Yes. But I also have some sympathy for Van Nistelrooy coming in as interim manager. So Ten Hag's gone, but the entire backroom staff remain. Now, Van Nistelrooy, as reports suggest, will be the interim manager in the short to medium term. He might get the job full-time like Solskjaer. We don't know. What manager wants to come in to this club, which is now a very toxic environment? It's one of those poison chalices of a job. But it also shows how good Fergie was after the Glazers took over. Because the Glazers have made some really bad decisions. Appointing Ed Woodward, for example, was a disastrous decision. Those effects of that appointment are still being felt. Some of the scouting, as I say, has been disastrous when it comes to signing players. I think that the players have downed tools on more than one occasion to get a manager sacked since Fergie. Moyes, Van Gaal, Mourinho, Solskjaer, Ten Hag. The player power at the club is toxic. I feel sorry for Harry Maguire when he was captain. That was a poison chalice. Bruno Fernandes is not the right player to be captain, personally. He doesn't strike me as a great leader. He doesn't strike me as a Paul Ince or a Steve Bruce or a Roy Keane type figure, or a Vidic or a Ferdinand or a Van der Sar. Doesn't strike me as someone who commands respect within the dressing room. As I say, that youth system isn't producing the same level of talent that it did 10, 20, 30 years ago. The class of 92 is the example I will use, but there are other players who came through that system not producing. McTominay has gone to Napoli. He came through the youth system. He's gone. And I feel sorry for McTominay. I think he was a decent player. I think he's just, it hasn't worked. Rashford, he's hit and miss. Sometimes he's brilliant. Sometimes he's all over the place. Where's his head at? The Mason Greenwood situation, I don't think that would have been tolerated under Fergie. He would have been gone straight away. I think the warning signs were there with Mason Greenwood long before what happened, and the aftermath of him being out the door. The judge of character is not great at this club, and there's too much. I don't know what Sir Jim Ratcliffe's doing, but there's a lot of negative headlines coming out. Cost cutting, plans for a new stadium, the lack of investment actually in Old Trafford. There's some concerns there. The lack of investment in the training facilities, noticeable. But Ten Hag's gone. So Van Nistelrooy is installed as interim. We'll see how Van Nistelrooy does, if the players respond to that new manager bounce, and if he can turn performances around. But even then, if he has a struggle, who would in their right mind want to take on this job, considering the managerial turnover and the toxic nature that the managerial position at Man United has become? But that Ten Hag's gone, and again, another manager wins silverware for the club. Not enough. Obviously, this club needs a full rebuild of the playing squad, but this is a club that I don't think can afford it. I think they've delayed a rebuild too long, and I think the players they brought in hasn't worked. The youth system isn't working as effectively as it did in years past, so the quality of player coming up is just not at the same level of the class of 92, which is the example I'll use, but other youth players have come in and done really well at the club and contributed. And as I say, the players they're bringing in aren't on the same level and quality and the right mindset to buy into. Everyone buys in. There's too many egos, which is not helping. There's clearly a divided dressing room, and there's the board keep making some harebrained decisions as well. But there we go. Ten Hag has gone, and we'll see what Van Nistelrooy can do in an interim capacity. But there we go. Thank you very much for watching. Place your thoughts on Ten Hag's dismissal and the situation at Manchester United, because it's regardless if you are a supporter of the club or not, they were a benchmark of how to run a club, how to be successful, good successful youth system, continuity, stability, and the culture at the club is just gone. There was a reason why they were so dominant for so long. It's because they had a good culture. Ego wasn't tolerated. You had to park that at the door. You had teamwork ethic. And it's all just gone to pieces. There's too many egos. Scattergun transfer policy similar to Chelsea, and no managerial stability. Yet another manager has gone. How many managers is that in 11 years since Fergie retired? It's too many. which is impacting the style of play because every manager's got a different style of play. They're playing players out of position. It's just not working. So there we go. Thank you very much for watching. I'll have some more content for you guys very, very soon.